Hey, what's going on, everybody? RogersBase here, and as you can see, I am currently traveling. I am in Vegas on my way to Chicago for the holidays, but Jump Festa is happening this weekend in Japan. Lots of new announcements in regards to Jump properties. We got the announcement of a new manga from Kishimoto. We got a teaser trailer for Season 3 of My Hero Academia, the announcement of Season 4 of Food Wars, and of course, lots of One Piece news. Now, there was a trailer there for One Piece World Seeker, which is that new PS4, PC, open world-esque One Piece game that sounds amazing. I've seen the screenshots, but I've actually not yet watched the trailer, just due to the fact that the only footage of it that exists right now is like off-screen footage from Jump Festa, and I'd really rather have my live reaction to the game for the first time be to the HD trailer. So whenever they drop the HD trailer, I will do a live reaction, but in the meantime, that doesn't exist, so I'm not going to talk about that yet. What I will talk about is Oda's statement during Jump Festa. Now, every year during the One Piece stage show portion, he basically writes a little note and he has his editors read out a statement talking about expectations for the next year in One Piece. And I've seen everybody and their mother already do a video on this topic. Everybody from King of Lightning to Tekking, Joy Boy, everybody. But I haven't done one yet, and I know I'm a little bit late, and I just sort of want to give my thoughts. Spoiler alert though, I am not super duper hyped about any of this. The information that was given during Oda's statement is stuff that we've heard time and time again over the course of the past 3 or 4 years. I am already supremely hyped for Wano Country. I could not be more hyped, but because it's been teased for so long, I'm kind of like, all right, let's just get on with it already. Like, I want to see these characters. Like, stop teasing me, just like, let's get into it. But again, let me actually read his statement. This was translated by Sandman on Twitter, so shoutouts to Sandman, and his statement reads as follows. Oda says, "Hi, I'm Oda. Are you enjoying Jump Festa? I'm watching the Super Stage show with you. It's fun, indeed. Actually, I visit Jump Festa every year to have a dinner with the Straw Hat voice actors after Jump Festa." He mentions that every year, by the way, too. By the way, One Piece will finally enter Wano next year. And then when this was announced, the audience erupted into cheers, and he says, "Some well-informed audience might think, you said the same thing last year, right?" Yes, I did say that because I thought One Piece would be able to enter Wano in 2017. This time, I'd like to add new information. So I do like that he sort of had a little bit of apology during the statement, being like, listen, I said that we were going to get to Wano, my editor said that we were going to get to Reverie, didn't happen during 2017, rest assured, Wano's going to happen next year, it's going to be hype. And then Oda follows up that Wano statement with this. He says, "I'll introduce one of the legends which lurks in the One Piece world. The greatest enemy ever for Straw Hats will hinder their way. Perhaps it will be something related to Whitebeard? Oops, it seems like I'm being too talkative. Can you believe the Marineford Summit War will look cute compared to that?" Anyway, there are tons of stuff that I want to draw next year as well. I'll keep moving forward with my full force. I'm sure you're going to love it, and love is in capital letters. Now, let's break down some of the things that he says here. First, he says he's going to introduce one of the legends that lurks in the One Piece world, the greatest enemy ever for the Straw Hats, and then he mentions some type of relationship to Whitebeard. Now, here's the thing. Whitebeard Jr., the new Shichibukai, that's obviously who he's probably wanting us to think he's talking about during this statement. But when he says the greatest enemy the Straw Hats will ever face, I think there's a 0.0% chance that is going to be Whitebeard Jr. Will Whitebeard Jr. be involved with the Wano arc in some way, or the lead up to Wano? Maybe, who knows? But I think the legend that he's talking about, despite everybody speculating in their videos, oh, it's gonna be Shiki, it's gonna be all this stuff. No, he's talking about Kaido. He's clearly talking about Kaido. We were introduced to Kaido in the previous years, but we don't know his powers. We really don't know what is going on with Kaido. And considering the fact that we're gonna be entering the Wano Country arc, we will most likely see some really awesome stuff from Kaido in the next year and really see the full force of his powers. Probably his devil fruit power, probably some of his subordinates, all that stuff, including the Shogun of Wano Country, who everybody is also hyping up. Now, I've seen some people bring up the idea that maybe Shiki is the Shogun of Wano, but my only thing against that, and I do think it's a cool idea considering his appearance, but there's already a One Piece movie about Shiki, and while it is not canon, Oda is known for not wanting canon stuff in the films. If there's something that he knows he wants to work on eventually, he'll say, yeah, of course you can use this power, of course you could use this character. And I think he kind of realized, even as far back as Strong World, like what he wanted to do with the Wano Country arc. We've been hyping up Wano Country since literally before the time skip, so this isn't really something that I think he hasn't been thinking about. And if he really did think that Shiki was going to be involved in the Wano Country arc, again, I don't think he would have made Strong World as big of a deal as he did. That being said, I'm not ruling out the possibility. I think it could be really cool if Shiki does end up having some type of relation to Wano Country, but there are some other names that I was thinking of instead. Now, in terms of some type of relationship to Whitebeard, I don't necessarily think there's any evidence for correlating these two characters that I'm about to talk about, but Whitebeard and maybe Green Bull. We know that if we're going to Reverie before we go to Wano Country, and he's saying here we are guaranteed going to be entering Wano Country next year, my guess is we might end up seeing Green Bull during the Reverie. This is something I've brought up numerous times, and you're probably saying, okay, well, Roger, what does this have anything to do with the relationship with Whitebeard? Well, my idea here is since we pretty much know Whitebeard Jr. is not going to be the greatest enemy the Straw Hats will ever face, maybe the thing is Whitebeard actually had a kid. Maybe Whitebeard actually has a kid and we're going to meet that kid next year, and that Whitebeard Jr. is sort of going to be like a scapegoat. That we're going to see Whitebeard Jr., he's going to be like, yeah, my dad is Whitebeard, blah, blah, blah. And another character is going to come and be like, no, actually, I'm the blood of Whitebeard, you're crazy. And how cool would it be if that character was also another legendary character that we've been hyped up about, Green Bull? Again, I don't think this is 100% fact. This is me just like throwing some ideas out there, but I think it could be cool if there is another legendary figure in the One Piece world that has a relationship to Whitebeard that is somebody that we don't already know about. I feel like with expectations going into not Wano Country, but Whole Cake Island, I think a lot of people thought that Oda was going to zig, and he ended up zagging in a lot of different situations. Look at Pudding, look at the setup with the cake, look at Big Mom, look at her powers, look at Mother Carmel. There's a lot of stuff that Oda teased and people were making predictions, myself included. Even stuff with the Vince Smoke family, with like who Sanji's brothers are and their relationship to everybody in the story. So ultimately, I think what he's talking about here is either Kaido, which to me is the obvious one. Kaido is, again, a legendary figure we don't know much about right now, or a new character. Again, I think he wants us to think that he's talking about Whitebeard Jr., mentioning that there's some type of relationship with Whitebeard, and I agree. Whitebeard Jr. will probably show up during Wano Country. I agree with a lot of the speculation that's been thrown out there. I think he sort of is tied into the story in a way that makes a lot of sense. If Marineford is going to look cute compared to whatever happens next year, or whatever happens during the Wano Country arc and the Straw Hats facing their strongest enemy ever, then I think Marco in some way needs to be involved, and we know that Marco is being tracked down by Whitebeard Jr., and that basically, Whitebeard Jr. and actually Blackbeard, when he went off against all the other people who used to be related to Whitebeard, they want him dead. And I think the Straw Hats and their alliance and the rest of the Supernovas are going to need Marco's help if they're going to take down Kaido and the Shogun in Wano Country. And again, I hope the Shogun, or I hope like some of these other characters, are people that we haven't seen already. I think that would be really cool. And again, I think that goes along with what Oda's been doing recently. He's been throwing in all this stuff that, we couldn't really predict. A lot of people predicted the stuff with Sanji making the cake, myself included. A lot of people predicted, the stuff with Pudding actually being bad. Like, there's a lot of stuff that people predicted, but I still think there's a lot of different directions that Oda went that really surprised us. Like, did anybody see Sulong coming? I think we all predicted that Minks were probably going to have a bit of a power-up because, there was the foreshadowing during the Zoe arc about like, oh, he's lucky that there wasn't a full moon tonight. But the way that actually went down, I think was a way that nobody was really predicting was going to happen at the end of this arc. I think if Carrot was going to have a power jump, people were probably like, oh, it'll happen midway through, or we'll see it, the next time there's a full moon. But I don't think that based with how everything else happened in Whole Cake Island and all this other information has been stuffed in there, that a lot of people predicted that was going to happen, and that now we've got Carrot against like these really strong members of the Big Mom family. So again, Oda likes playing with expectations. Remember that based on what he said here. And the other thing I want to break down, going back to something I talked about earlier, was this line: can you believe that the Marineford Summit War will look cute compared to that? Now, people are like, oh my god, that's amazing. He's saying that, Wano is going to dwarf Marineford in size, and this new fight against this new enemy is going to be amazing. And we've heard this time and time again. We've heard his editors say this. We've heard him say this. So again, this is nothing new. I've already hyped. My level of hype is already at 100. I cannot go any higher. So if he just repeats that, oh my god, it's coming and it's going to be hype, then of course I'm going to be excited. But it's nothing where I like read this statement and went, oh my god, this is crazy new news. Like, we already knew that this is going to be the biggest fight Luffy and the rest of the Straw Hats have ever faced. I mean, you're going to have the crew back together again. You're going to have the Supernovas. You're going to have all the people in Wano Country, which has been teased to hell for years. You're going to have, probably the stuff that happens in the Reverie before we get to Wano Country. So there's a lot of really exciting things happening in the manga in the very near future. But again, none of this to me is shocking. None of this, it's him saying that Wano's happening next year. great. But again, we already knew that. I think a lot of us expected that. I think if we didn't enter Wano in the next year, a lot of people would be disappointed. And I saw some people being like, oh, it's going to take 1 to 2 years to get to Wano based on that other statement that was made. And, you know, I also said that, you know, it could even happen in early 2019. So I'm happy to hear Oda guarantee it is happening next year. That's great, and I'm excited for it. But again, I think this legend he's alluding to is probably going to either be a new character entirely, or he's just talking about Kaido and trying to trick us by saying there's a relationship to Whitebeard with Whitebeard Jr. Those are my thoughts. Again, I've seen other people talk about Shiki and, you know, the garb that he's wearing and how he looks like he might be from Wano. Just as I mentioned earlier, maybe Green Bull has some type of relationship to Wano. Maybe there'll be an actual son or daughter of Whitebeard's that shows up. I mean, we really don't know at this point. And I think the exciting thing is just sort of like the hype leading up to it, but it gets to a point where, like, you can't be any more hyped than we already are. And I know some people, again, are just super stoked about this information and it's amazing and it's revealing, oh my god, we're getting into Wano next year. But again, I feel like we already knew that, and I also feel like this legendary character that's being introduced next year is most likely going to be Kaido. Now, the only other thing that I want to bring up in terms of this legendary thing that he's talking about that's going to be revealed next year that maybe has a relationship with Whitebeard is maybe it's not necessarily, because he says, the way he words it, he says, one of the legends which lurks in the One Piece world. That could be anything. That could not necessarily just be him talking about like a person. That could be him talking about a legend in the One Piece world. The thing that comes to my mind is the ancient weapons. I think that maybe that's an allusion to Uranus being introduced next year. And maybe that is also him playing with the wording of his statement, saying a legend is going to be introduced, talking about Wano Country, talking about the greatest enemy the Straw Hats are ever going to face, which is going to be Kaido, and then, of course, well, not ever going to face, but that they will face next year. And I'm thinking, you know, because I've already mentioned this in another theory video about how maybe Kaido was like the egg on Roger's ship who ate like an oni fruit, and that he's mythical and all this stuff. Maybe Kaido is also Uranus, and that the legend of Uranus is going to tie in with all the stuff that we already know about in terms of Wano Country and in terms of Kaido's power base, whether or not he has some really crazy devil fruit power, whether he's a dragon, whatever. So that's the one other thing I wanted to bring up, is that maybe the legend is not necessarily a person, but a thing that has been introduced, either the ancient weapons or maybe even like, it's probably not going to be the Will of D. I don't think we're going to find out anything about the Will of D next year. We might find out new characters who have the Will of D, but I don't think there's going to be a lot more information than that. But with all that being said, if this statement got you more excited for Wano Country, leave a like on this video. Let me know in the comments down below what legend Oda was talking about. Again, I think it could be a person. I think it could be a thing. We really just have to wait to find out. And again, I do think that it was a red herring for him to throw in the Whitebeard relationship thing. Unless, like I said, maybe Whitebeard has an actual kid, and maybe one of those kids is also one of the legendary figures in the One Piece world. Who knows? Let me know down in the comments below, and please make sure to subscribe, because I bring you guys reviews about the anime and the manga every single week. I also should have my anime review of last night's episode up sometime today. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!